Hello, Dave, back with another video. And you'll probably notice this time only one camera. Last time I was using two cameras, this camera, the G5X. The other camera I was using was the Canon M50, which I had just gotten maybe a week before. I sent it back. That's what I did with the Canon M50. And you might ask, why did I do that? Why did I send it back? I really liked that camera. There's a lot of things about it I liked, and at first I was very happy with it. But one of the most important things for me with this kind of camera, which is small and portable, as the M50 is also, is to walk about with it, to go places and to get action and movement, to carry the camera as you're walking forward and to get very stable video. So that requires a certain good image stabilization. This camera here, the G5X, has pretty good image stabilization. But I was assuming that because the M50 was a brand new camera and more of a professional camera, and it was supposed to have image stabilization and digital image stabilization, I was assuming it would be better, at least as good as the G5X, maybe better. So yesterday, I guess was it yesterday or the day before, I did a series of tests comparing the G5X with the M50, walking about in my neighborhood in the house, pointing it forward and pointing it at myself, to see exactly how it compared. And when I got inside and looked at the video, I was quite shocked at the results. And I'll show it to you right now. These are the tests I made with these two cameras the other day. All right, here we have the Canon M50 and the Canon G5X. Let me see, let me turn them on. Let me turn them both on. So you can see the full extent of the lens. Obviously the M50 has a much, much larger lens. But other than that, they're fairly similar. Let me turn around to the back. From the back, they look quite similar. As you can see, they both have electronic viewfinders, and they have fully articulated screens. This one comes out a little differently, but it works the same way. Let me turn this one on too. And you can see they both have articulating screens and a viewfinder and even a hot shoe at the top. So they are quite similar in many ways. That's it. The G5X, which I've had for about a little more than a year, and the M50, which I just got less than a week ago, I guess. So there they are. Both cameras are recording now. Now I'm going to do an image stabilization test, walking down the stairs, walking down the steps, walking out into the driveway. Sun is shining. Car going by. Move it up like that. I could go down here. It's nice and bright and sunny this way. Both cameras are shooting 60 frames per second. Basic image stabilization for both cameras. There is a more advanced setting. Maybe when I get down here a little ways, I will switch both cameras to the next step up in image stabilization. Now the M50 has got electronic digital image stabilization, and the G5X has the more advanced image stabilization feature. Now I've been told that the electronic image stabilization on the M50 causes the picture quality to deteriorate. There's actually one more setting on the M50, but I think that's all you can do with the G5X. Those are the two settings. Continue up here towards the mailbox. Walking with the M50 using the enhanced image stabilization. It should work even if I'm running. Let me just jog a little bit. Yeah, I'm just kind of jogging. Looks like it. I don't know if it's stabilizing or not. This is the G5X, 60 frames per second, and it's in continuous image stabilization mode as I walk down the steps here. And I can only do these one at a time. After I do this, I will do the same walk with the M50. So we'll see how stable this is. And the sound, of course, is just recording with the built-in microphone. I do have little muffs on them, little furry muffs to help it with the wind. It's not terribly windy right now, but maybe that's long enough. All right, here we go. This is the EOS M50, 60 frames per second. I'm using the built-in microphone. It's mounted on the same Gorilla Pod that the other camera was mounted on, holding at arm's length, and I'm using just the basic image stabilization, not the electronic. And we'll see how well that works walking down the steps and going for a little walk. Okay, a little bit further. Okay, that's probably enough of this stabilization mode. Let's try the other one. All right, I've enabled the digital image stabilization right now. There's apparently two types, but sometimes only one is available. Right now, this is the digital image stabilization. So let's see if the picture quality has indeed deteriorated from the other way when you're just using the lens image stabilization. All right, I've just switched to enhanced digital image stabilization. I should be able to run a little bit with this. I'm sort of jogging a little bit, and that should be able to stabilize the video a little bit. Is it cropped? Maybe it's cropped a little bit too. It might be the image, I think, a little closer to the, it's probably cropped a bit. So anyway, that's a test of the enhanced image stabilization. And that will conclude this experiment. I believe I've covered everything. All right, now, this is going to be basically an indoor low light test. I'm in my home. There are no lights on in here. Of course, it is fairly sunny outside, so there's a lot of light coming in from outside, but nothing inside at all. So I'm going to walk from one end of this fairly long room to the other and see. Now, the image stabilization is the standard image stabilization, not the digital. So I'll just walk all the way down here to the end of this room, and then turn around and walk back. And that's, you can see right behind me, there's a bright window, so you'll see how I look with the backlit. And I'll walk back towards the kitchen, and we'll see how this works. And then I'll do the same thing with the G5X. The G5X, just the basic image stabilization mode, indoor 60 frames per second, and so an indoor lighting test. See how well it does compared to the M50. On the screen, it looks pretty comparable. So we'll see. Turn around here, and again, we'll do the backlighting. The light behind me is the backlighting test, and head towards the kitchen again. Very similar on the screen. When I look at them on the computer, I may see more of a difference, but they seem to be quite similar. They're right next to each other. I'm just going to do a walk through the same place I walked in before with the camera facing me. Come back and maybe as you can imagine, I was pretty shocked that the M50 performed so poorly. It was like it didn't have any image stabilization at all. In digital, it was a little bit better, but it's still kind of jerky and just not smooth, as the G5X was always quite smooth. So I was quite disappointed. So what did I do? The first thing I did is I called Canon and talked to them about it. And at first they didn't know what to tell me. They had to put me on hold for quite a long time to find out how they were going to explain this to me. But eventually they came back online, and they told me that the kit lens that this came with the camera, the 15 to 45 millimeter lens, is not particularly good for image stabilization, which was somewhat of a surprise to me and a shock, since I had purchased the Video Creators Kit, which includes the camera, the lens, and a Rode microphone. I would think that a kit that was designed for video creation would have good image stabilization, but according to them, that lens is not very good for image stabilization. But they did say that the 11 to 22 millimeter lens with dynamic image stabilization would do a much better job. But at that point, I was a little bit annoyed with them and reacted quickly and just packaged the whole thing up and called B&H and arranged to have it sent back. So I shipped it back to them yesterday. And in thinking about it, maybe I was a little premature, a little hasty in sending it back. So I'm wondering if maybe it would work well with the right lens. So I'm asking anyone out there who has an M50, if you have an M50 and you have that lens or some lens or a lens that has dynamic image stabilization, is it working for you? Do you get good image stabilization when moving with the camera, when moving down the street or walking through a house, looking ahead? So I would love to see that. And if anybody out there has that, and please post your video on your YouTube channel and let me know so I can check it out. And if it is as good as the G5X right here, or better, I will probably reorder the camera because I really like that camera. But anyway, for now, I don't really need the second camera. It just reminded me how good this camera is. By comparing it with the M50, I realized that this G5X is still a very good camera, and I can use it for most of my needs. But the other thing I'm interested in right now is getting a 360 camera, and that's probably the next thing I'll do, even before I do anything about the M50. I'll probably get a 360 camera, probably within a week, or maybe even a week from today. I'm really leaning very strongly towards the Rilo, primarily because it has very smooth stabilization. Again, stabilization is very important to me. And it also, the image quality does seem to be better than the Insta360 which is the other 360 camera I was considering. So next time, maybe we'll have the Rilo to show off to you. So thanks for watching. And again, if you have an M50 and you're having better luck with image stabilization, please let me know somehow. And I really would like to see good image stabilization with the M50. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.